am a little bit of a control freak when it comes to my business. And if you are doing everything related to the business, you will not have time to grow the business. And I have fallen prey to this multiple times. Hi, I'm Shawn Kenneth, and I'm the founder and managing director of Creative Joule Solutions, an integrated tech, creative, and marketing agency. I'm also a published musician, and you're watching me on Goa Talks. All right. So, music and tech, especially in 2023, there is a real huge intersection of the two of them. And I can tell you about it in a little bit of a story, actually. Back when I started playing guitar for the first time, I was used to a lot of analog instruments and analog guitar amplifiers. And over the course of time, all of these tools and all of the techniques that we used to use have kind of been replaced just by my laptop. So, majority of my first album was completely done digitally, and I think that I do use tech almost entirely in my music. The only thing that's real or analog, so to say, would just be the performance. Everything when it comes to editing, mixing, mastering, all of the effects. So tech plays a huge important part in the musical process for me. I am a computer engineer. I actually was trained in both hardware and software. I have built complete, microprocessors and stuff from scratch, as well as worked on a lot of software. And prior to that, since engineering, so I have a science background over there. Yeah, but everything else, to be honest, whatever I do and everything else is kind of self-taught at this point. Yeah, so my journey with the guitar. It's pretty interesting. So I actually am a trained classical pianist. Somewhere around the age of 6 is when I started learning, and I never picked up guitar until the age of 13. But we always had a guitar somewhere around the house. My mom used to play the guitar very casually to cover, like back whatever she used to sing. The specific reason I picked up guitar was actually the song 21 Guns by Green Day. It was all over the school. When I was in school, everyone was listening to the song, and I just found the music video so cool that I wanted to be Billy Joe Armstrong playing that solo. And that kind of set the spark off that old guitar that we had at home. I got it fixed up, and kind of from there, it was no looking back. I got more guitars, started learning myself, and it's become a huge part of my life. My first debut album, The Passion Inside, it was actually during the second lockdown while I was in Bombay. I had been trying to write music for as long as I can remember, but somehow the parts never clicked, and it's been quite a few years that I've attempted the whole process. It was just that during that time, I was actually in Bombay in the lockdown, kind of with nothing to do at home. We were doing remote work, and I had a lot of time, and I decided to just explore the whole concept of music a little bit more. And I was just playing around with what's called a DAW, a digital audio workstation, and I came up with a kind of an instrumental, and I thought, hey, this sounds pretty cool. So I sent it to a rapper friend of mine, Charlene. She's actually there on the album, and she was like, hey, this is actually a good song. You should go ahead and finish it. I'm like, okay, cool. So that is kind of like how the process started. And so my approach to writing is very free flowing. I don't go down with a piece of paper and think about something to write. It's kind of like my diary. And all of the songs are what I have experienced, very specifically the young millennial, the age of 20 to 25. So the entire album kind of talks about what the average millennial goes through during that time period. It has everything from, aspiration, passion. It has a little bit about mental health. And one song even talks about my personal journey of music and how I love being on stage. So, Inside of My Heart is purely one of my battles with mental health. So, it talks specifically about depression and it talks about, suicidal thoughts. This particular one was not inspired by a person, but I kind of wanted to bring the concept of anxiety and, this dark cloud that's always behind us. I wanted to bring it to life in a very interesting way, which is why I kind of made a character that represented it. If you see the video, you'll notice that he has black paint on his face and black clothes. So that character represents anxiety. So anxiety is kind of an abstract concept. It could have been a combination of people, it could have been a combination of situations, but in general, it was just the feeling that I wanted to encompass and embody in the song.
One thing you should know, I've put my trust in you. Push as far as I can go. For this, there's only one thing you should know. Oh, I tried so hard and got so far. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all. But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Actually very difficult to stay relevant, considering that like in anything related to tech, there are so many developments that happen every few months. Right now we're having a whole wave of AI just taking over everything. So I think the main thing is to just keep in touch with all of your news sources. I'm a part of a lot of forums, I follow a lot of creators, music, and I make it a point not just to follow the official band pages where they've published the music, but also follow these musicians on their individual and personal level. I'll take the time to find their profiles on Instagram or Facebook, and it's usually there where I get exposed to all of the technology that they keep using. Lately, I've been using a lot of, I'm actually working on my second album right now, and I have been using a lot of AI tools to assist me with the melody creation, the writing. One very specific thing would be, it would be a very tedious task to find words that rhyme, whether through the syllables or just directly. Now these AI tools kind of just take care of it for me. It just kind of writes out the whole song in a way. I make sure that I don't let it overtake my thought process, but at the same time, it's just, you just need to keep in touch and use it to your advantage rather than looking at these tools as, like, something that takes away from the creative process. Let's break it down into music and tech. I think when it comes to music, I would consider one of these performances that I had in a past with an old band of mine, where there were a lot of technical glitches. The performance wasn't really up to mark. And while I usually have an amazing time on stage, I just love the rush that I get on stage performing in front of a crowd. That particular gig kind of just left me feeling like this is not something that I should be doing or I want to do anymore. But I observed what went wrong, and from that day onwards, we were much better prepared, and I was much better prepared for every other gig that ever came by. When it comes to the business, I really can't pinpoint it. There have been many successes and there have also been many failures, and that's kind of part of being a business owner. You are figuring everything out as it goes. But I think the major setback that I've had that really caused a lot of problems was probably not recovering payments from a lot of clients, and really huge payments, which was a result of me not structuring the agreements right, not putting the payment terms right. So there was absolutely no legal precedent for them to pay later, and hence we never got paid on a lot of projects what we were owed. And of course, that would lead to a huge setback when it comes to paying salaries, when it comes to all of the expenses in a company. We keep learning, we keep coming across these because there are so many different kinds of clients. You think that you have your agreement set in place and your terms, but then you'll come across a new challenge or a new way that a client will try to evade paying you. So it's a constant process, but I think one that was a huge setback, which we've bounced back from. And yeah, I'm never going to repeat again. Yeah, so that's actually pretty interesting. The company came about completely organically. It was we. I used to freelance for a long time before I started my company, and we would, it was always under my name, Shawn Kenneth Digital Creations, which is also a company that I've been running since the age of 13. It's kind of my own thing. What happened is, two or three of my friends, we were sitting together one day and we decided that, hey, we can all work together because we have all of these complementing skill sets. For example, one of them was a photographer. I am a UI/UX designer. By my major skill set is UI/UX design, and there was another person who's a developer. So we sat together, and I said, okay, let's give this a shot. The first name of the company was actually the Creative Co, which kind of references the fact that it's a creative company. When I went ahead to register the company, it I realized that the name was already taken. I wanted to keep the word creative, and because the creativity is kind of the basis of everything that we do, but I also don't wanted to bring in that element of tech or science, which is such a huge part of my life. And Joule is the unit of energy. So after going through a bunch of names, I wanted it to sound a little bit energizing, electrifying. And the word Joule, we actually probably came up with 20 different names, and Creative Joule seemed to really stand out, kind of represent the entire company and represent our thought process behind what we do. And it stuck, and it's been that way ever since. I think my biggest success is launching a company and running a company, considering that I have absolutely no business training or expertise. I went to college, I had a completely different skill set there where I was trained as a software developer. Then I always had an interest in design and I picked up the skill of UI/UX design. But business is a whole different ball game. You may know how to create something, for example software, or a wireframe or a UI design, but to market it, to get people to buy, get people to pay you for your services, to run a company with all of the compliances involved, everything that's associated with that, finance, HR, admin, there were a lot of things that I really had to do, and I kind of consider that my biggest success, because I feel like in the first year that I was running the company, I just kind of elevated as a person beyond what I thought was possible for me. My biggest flaw would quite simply be delegation. I am a little bit of a control freak when it comes to my business. And if you are doing everything related to the business, you will not have time to grow the business. And I have fallen prey to this multiple times. Considering that most of what my firm does, most of what my team does, I can do it myself. There is always this thought at the back of your head that, okay, no, let you step aside, let me do it because I can do it better. But the thing is, if you keep doing that, you never give your employees or your talent a chance to grow. So the goal is that you shouldn't be doing those things in the first place. As a business owner, I should be taking care of the future of the company, the vision of the company, trying to find new clients. I shouldn't be the one who's actually doing the work. I would love to do the work, but I can't, for example, be the guy holding the camera at an event. I have done that a few times. I have done website development myself so many times, and that's kind of what I have to keep as an option as backup. There are many things that can go wrong during a project execution. So coming back, delegation, my biggest flaw to date, and it's something that I am really working on, and I do feel I've made some progress, and eventually I will overcome it and completely delegate everything that I do. When it comes to music, I think the biggest advice I would give is plan out and structure out the whole process when it comes to not only writing your music, but publishing it and making sure that it gets coverage. I would really recommend, when you are working on your music, to give yourself that space to completely write without any sort of distractions, any sort of other things that would take away from your artistic capability and from your artistic expression. I personally believe that everyone approaches music differently. I love music, but my personal approach to music is I wanted to be honest and I wanted to be a channel for what I'm thinking all the time. So that's my approach. If you feel you want to write about something, whatever it may be, identify your approach. And specifically when it comes to music, I feel like a lot of people really need to identify what's unique to them. Everyone has a different voice, everyone has a different skill set, everyone has a different style. And instead of trying to copy someone else's style, even if it's an influence, even if it's someone you really look up to, if it's not you, then your audience is never going to resonate with you. I love a lot of artists like Linkin Park and Green Day, but I can't really sing the songs the way they do it. And if I try to force myself into that style, I would essentially be giving up what my actual voice is, which is a normal baritone. So I've noticed that when we are true to ourselves in the songwriting process, in the performance process, the quality of the product, the quality of the song is much better. And I would really recommend anyone getting in it for the first time to really understand what it is that makes them unique. When it comes to business, launching a business, running a business, I think the biggest thing is to take a lot of risks. And a lot of people play it safe, where you kind of, it depends on what you also want to achieve at the end of the day. I have insanely aspirational, goals when it comes to my business, and none of that is going to happen unless you actually take the risk. With high risk comes high reward. Of course, keep a safety net in place in case things go wrong, but you need to play the game. You need to, take, maybe take on a project which you would not normally take, just to see whether you can do really well at it. And opportunity always doesn't come knocking twice, especially when it comes to big projects. So if you feel that you're not going to be able to handle it, I would still say go ahead, pitch for the project, take it on, and you will figure it out in the process. This has been Shawn Kenneth, and thank you for watching me on Goa Talks.